Dear Caresha, I think everyone can agree with me in saying that we would love you a lot more if you just shut up. Like, be quiet. Enough, please. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. I'm the CakeDive and hope you guys are ready for another slice of cake because today we're going to be talking about Caresha and Diddy. And for most of you guys who are like, have been following this page, y'all know I've been avoiding talking about the Diddy trial and everything going on with Diddy. I've talked about it a couple of times, but never in like a video, never in like a full-fledged video. And that's by design. I don't know. I feel like everybody else is talking about it and everyone else has said something that I particularly agree with. So I feel like I have nothing to add to the conversation. I think what he did is gross. I hate that he didn't get. I hate that the women who and the men who have been abused and trafficked by him are not getting the justice that they deserve. Um, I wish nothing but the worst for him. But I know I wouldn't be able to add anything truly new to the conversation that has already been discussed. And I also feel like people are also like, I feel like there's also a lot of people who discuss him, but they're not making the necessary moves. Like, how do we move this conversation forward? We're just saying the same things, and some people are unintelligent because we have an education problem in this country, and they like using the baby oil out. They like celebrating outside the courthouse when the deliberations came. But that's another story. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Well, sort of, kind of. I am here to talk about that, kind of. But outside of the mixed reactions, you've had a lot of people who are like, kind of in my camp, people who are like, oh, justice lost. Like, justice did not happen. We're living in one of the worst timelines because you got, big, beautiful bill passing. You got Diddy kind of escaping the justice that he, like, should face. And all this other weird stuff going on. And then you have people on the other side. Caresha was one of those people on the other side. As soon as the jury made a verdict and the verdict was revealed to the public, she posted on Twitter and Instagram. On Instagram, she posted a story kind of hinting and alluding that she was excited about the verdict. And then on Twitter, she said 11/11, which is like, I think that's some angel numbers things, in which it's like, oh, like, make a wish, oh, my dreams come true. It's suggesting that, because it's very timed, that she's very happy about, Diddy, kind of escaping trouble and stuff like that. And everybody been whacking her on the timeline. Because rightfully so. Like, first of all, Caresha is someone who refused to really speak on the situation and, like, her impact and her influence and her involvement in the situation. There have been rumors that, she was, traveling around and doing things on his behalf. There's also stuff in the court case that suggested that she was aware of some of the things that he was getting into. And she really did not discuss or answer to any of those things. She very much skirted past those things when she was on the podcast that he gave him on the network that he used to own, but sold because he needed some money. She very much skirted past the conversations about, Diddy and their dynamic. I don't know if I want to call it a relationship because it was, if anything, it was like it was a sugar daddy relationship type of thing, in which it was like, oh, like, I don't know if there was any action going on. I don't know if they had any love, but he was giving her money to basically, like, make him look younger because, there are older men that love younger women. There are younger men that love. Wait, how did that CBS lady do it? Sorry. There are older men that love younger women. There are younger men that love older women. Are you an older man that loves younger women? I'm an older man that loves all women. Like, that was Diddy in the situation. Like, Diddy was someone who was an older man that loved younger women, didn't want to admit to it, but very publicly was around a lot of the birachels a lot of mixed people, and then there was Caresha, and because Caresha was young, she was kind of popping because the girls was liking City Girls until they wasn't getting the income coming in because the label was a scam type things. She conjoined to his hip, and that was history. And she's very clearly made her bed with it, um, because she's making tweets alluding to the fact that like she wants to get back with him, and I, in my opinion, I feel like she would have been fine and she would have gotten away with it if she didn't say anything. And that has been a recurring issue with Caresha. She has always gotten in trouble for her views, for her opinions, because let's face it, she's kind of a bird. She's kind of a loser. And she's made that clear, whether it's through her homophobic and transphobic opinions, like how she's treated Saucy Santana has been very weird. Some of the things that she said, and what she's like, when people asked her, like, oh, like if your child was gay, like how would you handle it? And she was like, oh, that's not gonna fly, basically, as politely as I could say it on the YouTubes and stuff like that. Um, and then she kind of like changed it, but still doubled down. She was like, oh, like, you know, like she kind of was trying to play it up because she got in trouble for saying it the first time. Um, and then you have the Diddy situation, in which she said nothing about like what's been going on. She said nothing about her involvement, which on one hand is a good thing to do. You know, keep it to the course if you in the right. You know, Megan Thee Stallion, but she was being dug in the mud for the things that she, you know, that she was saying that was the truth, and she was proven right in a court of law. She kept it in the courts. As much as everybody else kept it online, she kept it in the courts. Halle and DDG, which I have not talked about, like I've talked about them, but I did not talk about the most recent situation of podcast. When DDG was on Kick and on these silly little social media platforms talking about like, oh, I miss my son. Oh, Halle won't let me see my son. He was arguing with Halle, the AI version of Halle, on stream like a weirdo. Halle kept it in the courts. She submitted her restraining order. She submitted the court filings, and the things that happened. At first, I was like, oh, maybe Carisha's keeping it in the courts, but she was still interacting with people on social media who were dragging her, and she was trying to like half respond, because you could tell that like she wasn't able to fully respond the way that she wanted to respond, because she was in a court of law, and anything that she says can be and will be used against her. And then we had this situation in which she like is like half acknowledging that she wants to be back with Diddy. So like, baby, like just live your truth and lie in the event that you like stated in. Because the thing is like, people don't necessarily like. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's clear that like, first of all, with the Diddy case, it's clear that people don't care about abuse the way that they should, which is horrifying. But I think that people need to be honest. Like, people are like, cancel culture is not really a thing. Like, even if you do something that's like truly reprehensible, like people are still willing to support you if the work that you put out is good. Um, and then also, if you do something that is reprehensible, well, okay, let me rephrase this. If you do something that's like controversial, people are willing to forgive you if the stuff that you put out or the way that you respond is good. If you do something that is reprehensible, people who are willing to ignore that are willing to overinflate your value, and that can like mitigate some things. It's like Chris Brown and R. Kelly. People talk about, and I've talked about in the podcast. You know, I remember the Chris Brown is the weakest link video. I've talked about before about how Chris Brown has like had repeat offenses regarding abuse in DV, but he's gotten away with it because his fans are like, oh, but the music he makes is so good. Even like people who aren't aware of the stuff that he does are still like, oh, the music he puts out is good. Even though, from what I've heard on the radio, the times I've been forced to listen to the radio, he sonically is still stuck in like the 2010s, but that's another conversation for another time. There are people who are willing to overinflate his value. and people are still willing to say that, like, oh, he's one of the best R&B like performers of our time, which is not true. There have been a lot better in our time, and even some of the new girls and some of the new boys that have come out the scene have watched him. But that's, again, another conversation for another time. People are still willing to overinflate the value. People are still willing to, risk their clout to defend him and support him. You got Victoria Monet begging in his comments saying, "Can I like open for you?" when you could be like reopening another headlining tour, like you could put out another body of work because the girls were supporting you. But now the girls was like, "Ooh, you a little bit weird. Let's see how that goes." You know, for a lot of the new girls, when they want to collaborate with Chris Brown, like it's a death sentence. But people are still also streaming his music. When with R. Kelly, like there's still, like, we remember the Boondocks episode with this Diddy child, with the response of how the verdict was. People kept talking about how this reminds people of like the Boondocks episode with R. Kelly, and how people, like, how that parody seems to have like remanifested itself into real life with how people are responding with Diddy. With R. Kelly, like, people are, like, even with the reprehensible things that he has done, there's still a demographic of people who are like, "Oh, I don't believe it," even though there's evidence, even though there's proof that he's done the things that he's done, even though there's several victims that have come forward and said these are things that he's done. There's still people who are willing to excuse that, still be like, "Oh, he made this, he did this. Y'all remember Aaliyah? Like, he put Aaliyah on, like this, that, and third." And again, there's people who are willing to excuse it. In Caresha's case, what I'm trying to get at here is Caresha has said things that are controversial, not necessarily reprehensible, but controversial. There was, again, as I mentioned before, like the transphobic and homophobic stuff that she said. Controversial, but you can tell that in the society, unfortunately, people tolerate the LGBTQ community, but they don't fully accept them. And we can see that with how, and even then, like, it's testing. We're seeing what's going on with America right now, which they're actively trying to pull back the rights of, like, the trans community right now. And everyone's part of, like, people are like, what's going on here? Because there's half the country that doesn't care about trans people, because that's not impacting their bills, it's not impacting their income, that's not impacting how much they earn, how much they get taxed. And then there's like the loud minority of like conservatives who are like, "Oh, this is the issue. We gotta fix. Like, we gotta target." Which, nah, baby, the walls are falling in. Like, your house is about to be foreclosed on. You have other worries to worry about. But you have these reprehensible things. Like, you have these controversial things. I mean, not reprehensible. That she's done, the weird stuff that she said to Saucy and Santana. People like Saucy Santana struck it over and still remains friends with Caresha, from what it seems like. Caresha's laughed it off because she think it funny and she can't hear herself. And I feel like people are willing to like forgive, or not even like forgive, tolerate, because some people are aware that like she said these things and done these things before. But even with like the Diddy stuff, it seemed like people were willing to like tolerate it if she was still like a funny figure to be around. Like, when she was doing the streams again with and the videos with Saucy Santana, like people were like, "Oh, she's back," because people like the dynamic that her and Santana have. And like, even when she was doing music again, she's been doing the solo music a little bit, trying to work her way out now that the City Girls are done. You see that she's like, people are willing to kind of like mess with it on the TikTok, where the Megan Thee Stallion, bitch, I ain't no TikTok, like, like she's stuck on the TikTok though. But the audience isn't really, I don't think the audience is willing to forgive this, like, because you associated with someone who has like, literally done like the most reprehensible like things in the world. But she's like, "Oh, 11/11." She was out at the BET Awards with that sign like, "Oh, I want to be a single mother." Like, that's not what the sign said, and that's not the single mothers, but like, she was holding the sign up, like, so excited, like, "Oh, I'm ready to be this. Like, I'm ready to be Diddy, you know. And she's made her bed. She's lying in it. I think we as a society need to just move away. Like, and this also sets the course. This sets the course for what was going on next for the City Girls. I don't think the City Girls can come back. I feel like if the City Girls come back, Caresha's going to beg, because you got JT, who I know I did a video a while back on JT, an episode of the podcast on JT, and I know like I'm like, oh, like JT has had an issue with like responding to everything. She's very clearly been online. She responded to everything. She responded to haters after she was getting at like Glorilla and Sukiana and all the girls. But now that like, and that was mostly because of the fact that she was being influenced by Nicki Minaj. Now that Nicki Minaj has kicked her to the curb publicly, and everyone was like, oh, it's weird that you kicked her on the curb. But nothing is really manifested on that because Nicki did what she did and JT kind of like stuck. JT has been quiet, and you know there you still have the stands that have still like gotten at her like, oh, like remember how you was getting at, remember how you was getting at Glorilla, remember how you was getting at the girls, and now look at you. JT she been on the Zoom, arguably. Like I can't I would give my sixes and my sevens when the sixes and sevens are due, but she been on her Zoom. She ain't been saying too much. She be interacting with the girls very cutely from what I'm seeing, very demure, as the girls would say. She, you know, still performing. She's still doing the things she needs to do. She's still putting out music. The girls been seeming to like the music. I like Ran Out. When Ran Out came out, oh, Ran Out been on my playlist, especially this summer. My bitch is shaking ass with the hand out. Hey, like, listen, she doing what she need to do. She been on her Zoom, but she's also been quiet. Like, she knows that like nothing's really going to work out, at least for now. She's seeming like she's realizing that things are not going to work out. She just keep yapping, clocking, like responding to the girls that's like giving them beef or even like going at the girls. It's smart to just, you know, eat your food, you know, write your raps, do your pen, perform, do the things that you need to do. Eventually your come up gonna come up. Like, that's just how it's gonna be. But Caresha has not learned that. And Caresha has not only not learned that, but she's doubled down. And I think the girls just gonna like pull their support, last bit of support from her. Cause like, I don't know, like you seem very clear, like you seem set in your ways. You tying yourself down to a loser, you connecting yourself, you associating yourself with the loser. You should just let the losers fans support you, because like the girls not gonna support you. Like, the rap not that good. The girls was, I keep saying the TikToks, the girls being like, oh, I only tolerated Caresha because she was in the City Girls. Now she's not in the City Girls and she's associating with a loser. I can't do that no more. Oh, Caresha been washed since like the girls are coming out and saying that they against this, like they done with you. They chucking you in the side, like um like you in Toy Story, like you one of the dolls. But that's what you get for doubling down. I don't know. I'm not too. She could recover from it because she's recovered from other things before, but I think that there's going to be a bigger demographic of people that are not going to tap in or like refuse to tap in because of what she's doing and what she's doubled down on. She need to get a damn job, actually, because like she ain't been done the. I don't think she's been doing the podcast because Revolt kind of what happened to Revolt. At least not. I haven't heard anything where she hasn't gotten too many bookings with celebrities. Solo music not doing what the solo music used to do. Like GT at least charting. I ain't heard nothing about the Caresha music. What was she trying to do? That Yams era? Yams. I ain't heard nothing about no Yams. Yams ain't hit the chart yet. What's going on with Yams? But that's all I have to say. That's my like all over the place thoughts about JT and Caresha, mainly Caresha, and of course like the Diddy stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Cake Radio Show. Let me know in the comments if you listen on Spotify or you listen on YouTube. Let me know in the comments what you think. Like, do you think Caresha's wrong for being public about how she feels about the situation? Do you think she can come back or be fine from this? Have you listened to any of the Caresha solo songs? I haven't, but that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna talk to y'all next time. And yeah, don't forget to smile.